Hey, I'm trying to sneak in a video again. I like to stream them live sometimes because it's easier than going back and trying to upload. Hopefully, no one finds me here because I can't not answer comments. Because there is one very simple subject I want to do a small video on post draft. Now, I just released a Dynasty Crossroads episode on the pod where I mentioned this, but I didn't realize how strong of a point it really needed to be. I thought it was fairly obvious, but I'm getting a couple questions, just a few. I'm not that popular. But something that seems pretty straightforward to me and is frustrating in a few ways is that there is one solid RB1 tier. Like there's one block of, depending on who you like pre-draft, 4 or 5 players. The decisions I'm making for my post-draft ranks, because I really want to lock everything down now. I wanted to stop making content, nail down on catching up on stats and players that were drafted that I didn't have in my database, make my post-draft board, finish off a few articles, then come back to it, see where everyone else came out, and maybe start making content again. Just take a week, I'm pretty hot and heavy every day, so I didn't think a week of just not putting out videos would be terrible. But this one seems like real simple. I'm right there, and I want to say it as early as I can, just trying to help you guys out or show you my perspective on it. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 running backs that are pretty much one solid running back, one tier, and you know who they are. You don't even have to guess. And I'm gonna, like I say, I don't have ranks yet, but that's mostly because I like to savor things. I want to go back. I want to check over everything. I want to make sure I'm not making a mistake. Reconfirm my opinions based on the landing spots, stuff like that. But something I'm starting to reply to people with is pointing out that right now, no one knows which of those 5 is going to be better. You will find people who will make the case for all of them. Like there are people out there right now, smart, intelligent, good hit rates, fun to listen to, that we all follow, who will tell you it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. In fact, I think that's the clear 101 for me in one QB leagues anyway. But, haven't done ranks yet. I'm just saying right now that's where I'm at. And I can make a really strong case for it. But here's the thing. Someone else is out there right now is making a really strong case for Jonathan Taylor. Someone else is making a really strong case for Cam Edwards, DeAndre Swift, and J.K. Dobbins. None of us can tell you with any greater certainty, and this is, I think, where I fit in. I think where I fit in, if I fit in at all, is that I am the most trying to talk to you guys. Just a guy, just a player, literally. Mostly trying to get his head around the stuff. Smarter people with more experience and better eyes or whatever actually do. And so that's what I mostly did for myself. I went out and tried to gather as much data as I could and tried to see what is what tells us what tells us how much of what. As confusing as that sentence may be, how much does draft capital actually tell us for each position? How much does yards per game, yards per reception? Now, I know Scott Barrett, I know Josh Hansmo, they can do so much more with numbers, but I just a guy, I just want to know at a basic level, can this even tell me that? Or is that just a number you can use in an argument as a narrative? And that's fine, because Stompy, I can name like 7 guys off the top of my head that just are able to put this together in their heads well enough that they get what's going to happen on a story, not because the things they use in that argument are particularly predictive, but because they combine the right elements in the right way. They read the situations so well that they're able to do it. I'm not that guy. I'm just a guy. And so I know what the numbers they're using say, and that's what I normally end up arguing with them, where you can't say that vacated targets means anything, and here's why. That's true. But lots of people are able to put that non-predictive but important aspect of the situation together with the right elements, the other parts of the situation, to get very close, very often, to what actually happens. I'm not that guy. I hate admitting it every time I point it out, because it feels like I'm saying I'm pointing out I'm just playing fantasy football with my friends. It's okay that I'm not, going to predict the future. I just want to know what are the real odds, and then I want to listen to the stories and see which one, gives me the most fun or gives me the goosies, and I go and draft that guy. But that's where we are with this tier. I want to simplify it. Running back draft capital is really the only thing that is particularly predictive from a college profile into the NFL. Now, I'm not telling you there aren't secret numbers. Scott Barrett, PFF, if you're behind that paywall, I don't know, so I can't test it. Like I have draft capital and all the other stats in the database to really give myself or anyone else a good idea of if missed tackles missed tackles or yards created. I don't know if that stuff is a secret number that can give you an edge, like above points per game in college. I don't know because I'm not behind that paywall. I would not put it past Scott Barrett and the PFF crew, whoever is creating that data, to be the ones that finds the number that actually gives you a better edge. I'm just telling you, I don't know if it is. It seems to be true, but for right now, it just has to be part of that narrative, part of that story that we put together, because I can't go and get a big enough history to go test it to decide if it really can. But it seems to make sense, and those guys know what they're doing. So maybe it is. If you're behind that paywall, by all means, trust it, because they're good. But I can't comment. I don't know. So in all my database, like I went through pre-draft, and you can see all my results, what is and isn't the most predictive. And really for running back, nothing. There's draft capital, and you can get a good understanding. Like I can tier players pre-draft before I hear anyone say anything that watch the tape, that do all this great context work. And I get most of them right? You see my pre-draft score. You might disagree, but a lot of those guys got drafted round 1, 2, and 3, and that's me saying none of it is particularly predictive. So it's useful. It's describing the right roles. It's highlighting the right people. But like with wide receiver, it has flaws at running back, and one of them is it doesn't project them well, which is fine as long as we understand that. One thing that does is draft capital. So the only thing that's really predictably, consistently giving you better or worse odds is what round they were drafted in. And I know someone commented, actually they're a little mean about it, but that's fine too. I like that. That, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and I think Jonathan Taylor were 9 picks apart. Tiering it by first round and second round makes no sense. It's arbitrary. And that would be true, but something is arbitrary until it's not. And we can make whatever story we like about why, but draft round matters. Maybe it's just because NFL teams value it. Maybe it's not an actual thing that creates an effect, but NFL teams are valuing it. And so they would draft a running back in round 1 if they really were as high on that guy as they were the other guys they took in round 1. And you have to adjust for class. Like Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers going in round 2 in this draft class is probably less of a problem than going in round 2 last year or the year before, because this was consensus a very top heavy tier at running back and wide receiver. So it probably means a little less. And the fact they were all drafted within a very similar range soon after the first round, that probably tells you that as well. But all I'm saying is the one number that we have, the one thing that we have that is predictably and consistently useful for projecting players into the NFL is draft round, not draft pick. Draft round is actually more predictive than draft pick. So the fact that Cam Akers went after Jonathan Taylor isn't as important as they both went in round 2 compared to Clyde Edwards-Helaire going in round 1. Now, how predictive it is. Well, you look at my database or listen to any of my videos where I literally quote you numbers and give you a history. I'm not trying to do that today. It's 30 to 35% predictive. Does that mean anything to you? No. Well, I'm telling you, it's really the only thing that does. Now, the next up is points per game for running back, weirdly. Points per game and PPR points seems to have consistently higher scores as a single stat, but it's around 20%. And that's a big drop-off. I have yet to make a model that really improves on any one single stat, and that's why I say I'm bad, quote unquote, need help at running back more than wide receiver. It's not that I don't have numbers that I think are a little better, and I'll go to the mat in an argument on a YouTube video or on a podcast with someone, because it's fun. We're just having fun. But honestly, me to you, what we have at running back that is consistently and predictively useful at running back is draft round. You can ignore it. That's the thing. That's what I'm getting to. So draft round matters. That's why Clyde Edwards-Helaire is probably the one, right? But you can ignore it. You adjust for the class. You know that this class is top heavy. You know that Cam Akers and Jonathan Taylor both went to, ideally before the draft, at least, landing spots that we think are good. We have trouble predicting good landing spots, but for running backs, a little easier, right? And Marlon Mack wasn't as invested in as highly as Jonathan Taylor. The team has no other reason to go get Jonathan Taylor unless they're at least thinking about moving him for Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor had the best point PPR season of this running back class in a heavy running back class. And it was over 20 points per game, right? His average was, Jonathan Taylor was 25. Yeah, he was the one that had a really high points per game. We love Jonathan Taylor. So the fact he went in the second round to a good landing spot doesn't mean I like him worse than CEH. If anything, it means I'm fine to trade back to Jonathan Taylor. Like, that's cool. If Jonathan Taylor falls to me and someone else gets Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire has the one thing that we know gives him the odds. He has slightly better odds, in fact, significantly better odds, of having a top 24, top 12, or top 5 fantasy season. Round 1 just matters. That doesn't mean you can't draft Jonathan Taylor over him. And that goes back to what I was starting in the video and the purpose of this one. No one actually knows. I can tell you that round 1 is significant. But they're playing round 2 guys that outplayed round 1 guys. They're playing round 3 guys that were the running back who wanted from that class. I don't think Le'Veon Bell was a round 1 guy, right? It is important. And if I'm laying out the odds for you, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has the best odds of having a fantasy relevant season or the highest fantasy relevant season. And put it this way, no one in this heavy running back class got better draft capital or a better landing spot. Kansas has been the landing spot we wanted running backs to go to since Andy Reid started coaching football, right? So there's no one who can have a better landing spot, and there's no one that has better draft capital. Doesn't mean you can't draft Jonathan Taylor over them. Doesn't mean you can't draft Cam Akers over them. But now you know the odds. And that's, again, just a guy. All I can do is go find out what these things say and don't say consistently over time. Draft capital, draft round is what consistently and persistently says this gives you better odds. But screw the odds, right? Adjust for the class, like Jonathan Taylor more. If there's something, you just like the way he runs. He's a monster. You like the way Cam Akers catches a ball, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a great receiving back. Cam Akers has got some really serious chops in that area. J.K. Dobbins seems to be the guy who's risen the most outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire into this tier. He was at the bottom of my running back 1 tier, kind of there, but I was willing to draft wide receivers. I just went and watched the video again. Again, that's why I freeze my pre-draft view so I can see what I was actually thinking, whereas trying to remember what I was thinking, you kind of rose-colored glasses a little bit, but I can't because I locked it in time. The reason I was willing to draft wide receiver of J.K. Dobbins is because, and I quote, I need to see it in the draft. What happened with J.K. Dobbins? He got similar draft capital, his second round, right? And he went to Baltimore. That's a great landing spot. We love Baltimore. It's a great team, really successful last year. Now, I want to dig in on projections. I want to see which teams I think are going to regress, improve, or reduce in running back spots. But there's no reason that J.K. Dobbins should be outside. I mean, that's what I said. That's what I didn't like on his profile. I just needed to see it because it was a little bit middling. There weren't the heights. But looking back, guess who had the second best PPR season in college after Jonathan Taylor? It was J.K. Dobbins. Guess who one of the 4 running backs who has 20 points per game or more over the course of his college career is? It's J.K. Dobbins. So the reason I have him lower in my immediate post-draft opinion is that pre-draft opinion. But that pre-draft opinion, the only thing I could question him on was landing spot. And he got it too. So that's, again, the value of the pre-draft look. I'm pushing him down the board for no good reason. So he's clearly in that tier 2, and that brings us to 5 running backs instead of 4. Clyde Edwards-Helaire clearly jumped into that tier with the draft round. So, and this is it. I'm not giving you rankings today. What I'm telling you, because I'm getting asked about it a lot, is we are going to be arguing and discussing. We, you, me, everyone that does this shit. They're going to be arguing which of these running backs is running back 1, or which of these running backs is running back 2. And everyone's going to be making good story narrative cases for which one is true. And here's the thing. We're all kind of lying because none of us know for sure. Because the only thing that really gives us an edge that I know of, again, if you're behind the PFF paywall, maybe there's another number, I don't know, is draft round. And the only one who has a different draft round of significance is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And you're actually okay to fade one of the other guys over him if you find a story or you have something you love about J.K. Dobbins. Just take J.K. Dobbins. It's fine. Here's how it will work. After we find out, after year 1 and year 2, those who got it right will be saying, see, the reason I knew that it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or the reason I knew it was Cam Akers is X. And so we will think we should overvalue that next time. And that's the part that I always find myself fighting back against, because really nothing that people are using in their arguments for Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Cam Akers over him or JT over him is predictive or consistently or persistently predictive over a long period of time. So it might be something you can put into an argument to successfully predict how the situations are going to work out in this running back's case. But next year, the same will be true. Draft round is the only thing that consistently and persistently gives us an edge in knowing who it's going to be. When we're looking at an individual class, we have to understand that so we know the odds. But then, especially with this top 5 running back tier, it's Wild West, man. You just got to find the story, find the thing that you like about the guy that you want to draft. And you got to believe in that. And you've got to know it's not transferable from one to another. The only thing, and that's what consistently and persistently means, that is draft round. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire will probably win out, especially for numbers-oriented fellas. But honestly, I don't know he's going to be better than Jonathan Taylor. I don't know he's going to be better than Cam Akers or J.K. Dobbins or DeAndre Swift. That's just the only thing that I know that gives us some edge over a period of time. And honestly, if I have the one-on-one, I'm fine with trading back 2-3 spots and just taking my guy outside of Clyde Edwards, because since I'm numbers orientated and I just said everything I said, kind of have to take CEH. But I would love just to spin the roulette wheel and take one of these other guys, because they all look just as strong. In fact, they look stronger profile-wise than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We just know that draft round matters more than all of that, like I just said. So again, we'll argue about it. We'll all be making our cases. But the truth is, from me to you, the ones who declare victory will be declaring victory after the fact. We don't know. The only thing we know is draft round. And maybe Scott Barrett has a secret number that I can't test. And beyond that, all these guys look really strong. They all look like not physically strong, but they have great profiles. There's nothing wrong here. There's no obvious mistake. And I hate that. And this brings me to why it's a really annoying part, because I want to separate them out for you predictively. No, I'm going to separate them out in my ranks, and I'm going to put the stories together. And I'm going to have ranks and tiers, and they're not all going to be in one big mass, because we have to make decisions. But even after I do all of that, there'll be nothing that is really transferable to another player next year that I can say is honestly predictive, persistently, consistently. So just be a story. And it's annoying, because you want to do better than that. It's like, haha, they haven't noticed his yards per reception, so now you know that it's really Cam Akers, and, we can get an edge hit. Someone knows. Scott Barrett knows, maybe. All publicly available numbers that I have in my database that you can see. I think pretty sure it's all of them. That's not behind a PFF at paywall. I worked pretty hard on it. None of them really give us that edge. It does create a very clear teardrop between them and Vaughn. Okay, Vaughn is the running back 6 around there. And you can have, your second tier running backs is also pretty clear, I think. Again, I'm not doing ranks today, but, Vaughn, Moss, Evans, Dillon very much belongs in that tier. I think there are some deeper flyers like Eno Benjamin. I'm still kind of interested in Josh Kelly, but that's, again, another teardrop. So all we can say for sure, unfortunately, the only real separation I can create for you is that tier 1 drop-off, tier 2 drop-off. And unfortunately, they're going to be big tiers. I'm not going to be able to provide much of an edge outside of that. I'm going to argue for like a top 2 tier and then a tier 3 probably with 3 players in it. But honestly, if you're drafting now, and that's why I was doing this video, and that's why I was getting the questions, or like, which is it? and I don't do post-draft rankings because I'm savoring it. Here's the truth. Even in a week when I finally finalize all of this, I will have nothing else. There's no secret number I'm going to apply to create the real ranks. It's that simple, guys. There are 5 running backs here who all look fantastic. Some of them are going to hit. Some of them are going to not. And everyone after the fact is going to say why they knew that was going to happen. Honest, there's nothing that actually tells us from this point in time, well, who it's going to be, apart from draft round. And this class is so solid. I'm freely giving you permission. If you're drafting now and you're like, I should take CEH, but no one will trade with me, and I really want Cam Akers, just take Cam Akers. Whatever the reason is, remember what the reason is, because, you're going to need to, if it doesn't work out, you're going to need to make yourself feel better. Why did I do this to myself? Like Rashad Penny, I know why I did it, so I don't have to fret over it too much. I know what the mistake was. It wasn't a mistake. Single-digit percentage chance he didn't produce a fantasy relevant season by now. I'm okay with that. Anyone that took Nick Chubb that year over him's feeling great. I took the draft round signal. They won. That's fine. At least I understand that, so I don't have to tilt too much when it comes back to it. And that's where we're at right now. 5 running backs. Take your guy. Take the guy that you think is Nick Chubb. Ignore Clyde Edwards-Helaire if you think he's Rashad Penny. Obviously, very different players, but I'm talking the draft round signal. That's fine too. Everything else is going to be... Then we're not going to make it up. No one's going to make it up. It's just going to feel like other people knew and I didn't. And I really don't think they do. I think out of those 5 players, the only one that has a real edge, statistically, predictively, and consistently, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And he's the one with the worst profile of those 5. So, yeah, it's line them up, take a shot. And no matter how much work I do between now and I finally produce finalized ranks, it's still going to be that. We're just going to have made the stories, so we're going to be able to have the fun arguments. But for you now in a draft, me to you guys, it's okay to take any of them. It really is. And it's annoying because we want to create more separation. We want to know more than other people. But that's what we know. That's all I really have. That's all we really have. Unless we have a secret number behind the PFF paywall. All right. I think I said it at this point. It's just, like I say, I'm getting the question and people are like, oh, really? There's no way to separate these guys? Not really. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has something. All the others look great. So it's like a license. In one way, it's frustrating. In another way, it's like a license just to have fun. Take your guy. And I know we say that all the time, but here we have a very clear list. Instead of a list of 20, take your favorite 5 players. And you take your guy from that tier. And then when your next pick comes up, if there's none left, then you start moving on. But, want to hear me say it a lot, but go watch highlight clips, see which one really gets you excited. Whatever it has to be, because outside of what I just said, it's all what it gives you those warm and fuzzy feelings. There's nothing particularly predictive outside of that. I'm gonna pretend like none of this is true, as I argue with people on podcasts and on Twitter for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, 2 months or whatever. So I thought I'd state it very clearly once, right here for you guys. Spaceman, how you doing, buddy? I was just ignoring the comments because I was trying to get a video done, not a live stream technically. But Spaceman's in here hat tipping me. Appreciate it on Twitch. The Magic Mike. I like it, Magic Mike. Here we go. Herbert worth the first round pick in Superflex. Yes, he is. Again, I don't have ranks yet, but cutting the bullshit, yeah. It's okay to take a running back over him. For me, it goes Burrow, Tua. Those are the only 2 differences in Superflex. Those 2 I would have 1 and 2 because I expect big upside from them eventually, and it's the cheapest place you can get quarterbacks in Superflex, so I'm just going to take them 1 and 2 if I have every pick. Herbert can be 1.03, especially if you're short on quarterback. But how did I phrase it? I was on the Superflex show, actually, And if you would take Andy Dalton's career over having Nick Chubb, not Andy Dalton now, obviously he doesn't have a team, but like that level of an average quarterback over a Nick Chubb who's been good but we think has big potential, then your answer is Herbert. But if you would much rather have Nick Chubb in your situation or generally playing fantasy, a really good running back who's shown like really significant high upside potential in Nick Chubb, over that average quarterback, then your answer is Herbert. Then your answer is take JT, takes Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's the decision here. And it's not that I know Herbert's going to be average. I'm just trying to level it out and taking it out of the rookie names to give you some sort of context for what the decision is. If you take Herbert 103, you're taking him over, at least a running back like Nick Chubb. Do you feel comfortable with that? I'm not sure I can feel comfortable with that every time. I'm not missing out on Nick Chubb for, Andy Dalton's year 1, 2, 3. I'm not missing out on Nick Chubb for, Phillip Rivers year 1, 2, 3. And especially considering the length these guys plays. Now, if Herbert, and that's not taking into consideration if Herbert doesn't hit, right? Or if Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't hit. So just ignoring all of that, that's the decision in a rookie draft. Because if we're taking someone, we're hoping they hit already. So it's Herbert or these running backs than Herbert. But he's definitely worth a first-round pick in Superflex, in my opinion, because QB, there's such a limited supply. How do I feel about Herbert as a prospect? That's why I was kind of taking. I'm not a QB evaluator, dude. I like TNEA from Sean Slavin. I like completion percentage above expected, which is a Josh Hernsmeyer stat. But I've never created a model that gives me a single bit of signal outside of like draft pick. And that's a lot worse than running back. That I was just talking about. Where does he come up? Considering those two things, I can answer that. Herbert was my... Wow, I like Jalen Hurts better than him. He was my QB4. Well, he was my QB4, really, pre-draft, if I was going to rank him. Herbert looks fine. He looks like a fine prospect, and people who are better QB evaluators than me, pretty much everyone, like him fine. He's got the draft capital. He's got a decent landing spot. 4.8% completion over expected. I mean, that's nothing compared to Hurts, to Burrow, who are all over 10% over average. But mine's a slightly hacked version as well. It's not the actual numbers produced by Josh Hernsmeyer. He looks fine. And apparently the team that just drafted him thinks that too. His CPO is 0 in college. Okay. Again, mine's a slightly hacked version. Follow Josh Hernsmeyer and he's got a better data set to do this for quarterbacks, but I use the numbers that I've got to try and create it, just to give myself an idea. He came out for me about 4.8% over average, but again, just to dig back through classes here. Again, I've never made a model that is particularly useful. Like Dwayne Haskins in my CPO had 12.5% over, and that's not working out too well, right? Kyler Murray was at 9.4 though, so that's where I believed the evaluations from the tape and everyone else talking. But then again, Will Greer was at 7.4, so I thought there was some outside hope. Drew Lock was at 5.2. Like, again, this is why I don't prospect QBs much. I take the good advice of people at the Superflex Super Show, for example. Stompy's on that, I believe, as well as Ryan, John, and they do great work over there. And also Sean Slavin. I really love his work on QBs. I just basically take their ranks and then insert them based on positional value into my draft board. .8 is it's pretty terrible. But again, mine's a hacked version. Listen to what Josh says. With QB, I'm just going to take the signal, right? Where was Herbert draft? First round, right? Something high. And something I was just working on to try and include quarterbacks in that hit rate lookup I was using. I was trying to look up hit rates by draft pick, because quarterback is the one position where draft pick has slightly more signal than draft round. It's the only position that's like that. And it's not a lot, but it's a little, and it's interesting. So let's see, what did I find? Quarterbacks drafted within the first 15 picks hit for a top 5 season 43% of the time, a top 12 season 62% of the time, top 24 season or whatever 84% of the time. Drafted in the first 32 picks, so just overall, and that's between like. Let me adjust this here. Let's see, greater than 25. Yeah, if they're drafted between pick 25 and 32, for example, the hit rates become 33%, 33%, and then 66%. So they're much more likely to be a top 24 QB, not a top 12 or a top 5, essentially. And I think Herbert had pretty decent draft capital. Beyond that, by the way, hit rates are just the devil's playground for quarterback. Like second-round quarterbacks hit for a top 12 season 13% of the time. Like it drops off a damn cliff once you get to the second round, like real quick. So yeah, Herbert was drafted decently high in the first round, if my memory serves as well. That's as good as I can do. And Superflex positional value, if you're unsure on Herbert, like Sean Slavin, Josh Hernsmeyer, someone says he's actually a bad prospect, I would draft him after those running backs in the first round and then try and trade him the first time excitement builds. If I'm not unsure of him, that's the way I play quarterback in Superflex. Always be looking to get someone that I know. Because NFL, it's a lot easier to know who's good, who's not. Derek Carr, any good? Meh. And they might move on to Marcus Mariota. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised if that happens. But he's going to be fine otherwise, right? He's average. He's fine. Maybe he's the new Andy Dalton line. Phillip Rivers, who is he? Okay. Yeah, he's top 24 guy, top 15 guy. He's in his last year, maybe last 2 years. But like, it's going to be a surprise to no one. There's a lot less mystery about QBs that are already in the league that we've seen play for at least 2 years. And so I'm always looking kind of trade into those guys because at least I know what they are and I can concentrate on running back and wide receiver, which is a little easier for me. So that's why I play QB in Superflex. But yeah, Herbert is a first round pick. It's just whether you want to take him over those running backs. Where I probably wouldn't. I'd probably take those 5 running backs I was just talking about over Herbert. But everyone says depends, but it really does, man. Like, if my team ain't great, then I'm just going to take Herbert, play the value as best I can, or I'll trade back and take Herbert if I have to. But QB value is one of the things that's always going to be high in Superflex. I mean, that's the point of it. That's the exact point of it. So as we're speculating, also in Superflex, that actually makes me less interested in who are they, Love and Hurts, because QBs at sitting your bench in Superflex seems like a great idea, but I would rather overdraft Herbert than overdraft or draft at average the 2 guys who are going to sit for 2 years and do nothing. And this goes back to what I was saying about wide receiver as well. If you don't think a rookie wide receiver can have a decent rookie season, not a decent season, a decent rookie season, don't draft them. Yeah, N'Keal Harry and JJ Sega-Whiteside are the guys from last year who had a below-average season, and their value is struggling. I know we say that rookies, we don't expect a lot, but we expect a little bit, and if we don't get that little bit, their value suffers. I mean, we don't like to admit that about wide receiver, where their value is meant to be better than running back, but if they don't do at least something to keep us excited, it's real hard to maintain that value. In fact, it's a good idea to trade them away. And it's a similar problem with someone like Love. Like, nothing can really happen to improve his value. He can't do anything this year, so it's probably going to take a hit. Josh Rosen didn't do much wrong, but the NFL and us just gave up on him. I mean, and that shouldn't happen. But we expect a certain level of something, and their value tanks if you don't get it. It shouldn't be, but it is. But yeah, sorry, that just got me thinking about Love. I think Ruggs is my wide receiver 4 or 5, and I feel foolish. Spaceman, you should. No, I mean, it's fine. I'm struggling with where to put Ruggs as well. I don't have real ranks yet, but I was just moving some players around. He came in at 7 for me. And for me, it's about whether I take the draft capital, which we should, over a player I like better with top 3 round draft capital. So, that's going to be the question. Realistically, well, look, the realistic look I have on these guys is going to be that hit rate chart. Like, this is what we should roughly expect, right? If I switch over to wide receiver, and that's the thing, Henry Ruggs is always going to have low, because I'm doing it based on draft round and breakout age. So his average hit rate across those metrics was like, 13-14%. It's the same as like an undrafted free agent with a age 19 breakout age or something. And you've all got it. This link's up there. You can go look and see exactly what I'm talking about. Where's Ruggs? If I was a statistician for real life, or a mathematician, or someone that was honestly standing on hills, like I can predict the future, it will be these hit rates that would create my ranks, right? But I think I can beat them because I'm just a guy playing in fantasy football. Yeah, Henry Ruggs' average chance of being fantasy relevant is about 12% if you average all the hit rates for top 5, top 12, top 24 at both breakout thresholds. And that's the same as it's about the same as Antonio Gordon Gandy drafted. Where was he drafted? 5th round, right? Oh, he's drafted 4th round with an age 20 breakout age. Again, Ruggs has no breakout age. He has none. So this is always going to rank him low. If you adjust for the things I put in the positivity argument or something else that you like about him, his touchdowns, for example, he should be higher than that. First round draft capital alone should make him higher than Antonio Gordon Gandy. And that's why I've pushed him up to like wide receiver 7-ish, but I don't know. I don't know yet. Hey, Crossover, I'm doing pretty well. Every time I try and make a quick video for the old Patreon, I end up talking to you guys, mainly because it's fun. Tired? Yeah. Do I look tired, man? I feel it. I feel old right now. I feel real old and real tired. I enjoy it. I'm finally feeling old. What do you think of the overlay? This thing. I went and made a special picture just so it looked a little different. I didn't know what to put in these spots, though. Like, I just put the grind over here for no particular reason. Just, it seemed like empty space. You're doing all right, Crossover? Glad to hear it. Pittman greater than Ruggs? Yeah, that's the kind of question I'm struggling with. Pittman's a stronger prospect by the things that I look at, but I'm very well aware Ruggs is a stronger prospect, through tape evaluation, explosive plays, combine metrics, a lot of different things some people like. I don't think those give us that consistent, persistent thing, but if that's your choice, if you get to choose Ruggs or Pittman, like they both fall to you, then Ruggs is falling pretty hard, right? Ruggs should, based on draft category, draft long before that. I don't know what the consensus actually is. I feel like the consensus is with me, which is why I stopped making anti-Ruggs arguments. Because if everyone knows, what's the point of me staying on a hill? Like, I may as well hedge at that point. Lots of people like Pittman, though. Pittman's chance of hitting overall, the average was 22.73. So yeah, technically, based on the things that I like, he's a lot more likely to hit than Ruggs. But when it comes down to it, like, I think Ayuk is the first round guy that just has no value to me. Ruggs has some value to me. Let me put it that way. Brandon Ayuk is the Philip Dorsett of this class. Like, he's going to be fine for them. He's a really talented guy. He's going to be fine in the NFL, but I really don't think he stretches over to our thing, the fantasy football thing, which is fine for him. It's fine for the team. Ruggs could. I really do think Ruggs could. I think he's the best. I've got a few comps for a few players. And I think Henry Ruggs is what some people hope John Ross was. Because John Ross was always tiny and always injured as well. But he was never going to be what they hoped he was. I really don't think. I don't see that kind of player in his physical makeup or in his production. I could see Henry Ruggs turning into that and being one of those outliers. Long shot, but with first-round draft capital to Oakland, no less. They are going to give him every chance And I root for players. At the end of the day, as much as I root for breakout ages, at the end of the day, I root for players. I would love for another player to, come get a big contract. I love seeing it, man. These kids work hard. Ayuk goes to the 49ers. And again, first round draft capital, it's not like we can ignore him, but I will do almost anything not to draft him. I think he's probably going to be a great NFL player. I'm not sure it stretches over to our thing, man. And I could be wrong. I keep saying that. You guys know I can be wrong. You see me be wrong. I don't have to remind you. I'm just, my opinion, no. I don't see fantasy seasons for Ayuk. But hell, man, the guy's fast, right? He's not that fast, actually, is he? Am I getting that wrong? Hey, at least he broke out. But taking the sum of the profiles, the sum of the college production into account, I think Ruggs is a lot more interested in Ayuk. Although that is a cool name, it reminds me of Street Fighter. I enjoy it. AI. There you are, Brandon. Combine. Yeah, he ran a 4.5. He's going to play that. They try to replace Marcus Goodwin, and then they traded Marcus Goodwin, just kind of highlight the fact. Really efficient, 2.2 yards per team passing attempt, 1.7 yards per team passing attempt above team average. That's the same as CeeDee Lamb. 70 combine score. He was just really underproductive at the age he played. My age-adjusted metrics, and that's why he's kind of off my board. That no one was saying, like, Brandon Ayuk is this wide receiver one great. Like, the tape wasn't saying that either. He broke out at age 21. He did break at age 21 with a 30% threshold, though. That's a little bit different. He did both at the same time. That's his only breakout year, but it was above 30%. It's just not my guy, man. I don't think anyone's surprised by that, but anyone else? Yeah, he ran a 4.5 spaceman. Just said that. You told me before I looked it up. I get it. Is he the third option on the team? Yeah, probably, right? You've got Kittle, you've got Debo, then Ayuk. And like I think, I'm very certain Ayuk can be a great football player. He is. But I mean, in the NFL, I'm very certain he can be a good football player for them. I don't think he crosses over to fantasy. That's a different thing sometimes, Marcus Goodwin's been a good football player, especially the last 2 years, It rarely crosses over into us. And he's not I do think he's going to be that outside option. That 4.5 really makes me wonder if I've got him wrong, though. I was thinking he's just Henry Ruggs speedsters type with less interesting stuff on his profile. So I don't know. And watch out, Kendrick Bourne. Undrafted free agents, man. I really do think Kendrick Bourne's proven himself to be a significant NFL-level talent. He's done really well for the 49ers. They will move on for him without even realizing they've moved on for him because teams do not think about people with no draft capital. They have no new thoughts about them. And it sucks. It really does. But if I was going to make a bet because I like having fun, I think Bourne's going to eat Ayuk's lunch. I think he's going to eat him up. I think Bourne's really good. Now, the team can just fade him in favor of Ayuk, first-round draft capital. But I think Bourne's good, man. He's not. Come on. He's not. We're not talking Hall of Fame or anything, but as a football player, he's amazing to do what he's done. And he's been really solid for the team. He knows the job. He knows the playbook. He's shown he cares. The team is going to ignore the fuck out of him because of his draft capital. But if I'm making bets, I'm going to bet on Bourne. Yeah, why not? But Ayuk's going to be more expensive, so it's not an even bet, And Bourne's already on my roster, so it's not like I can trade for him. I really enjoyed his last season. Speaking of which, I got to pick an undrafted free agent this year, and I don't know who it is. I try and pick like the guy to symbolize undrafted free agents, so I can root for him every week. It was born last year, and that was enjoyable. Like I say, he did solid. Who was I thinking could be the guy this year? It's gone out of my head. But it's normally a guy who's been in the league for a little bit anyway, because undrafted free agents take a while to get there. But there was a guy I noticed the other day, and I was like, oh, maybe he could be 2020's undrafted free agent banner holder. Yeah, though. He has good burst to go along with a good highly adjusted speed score. I think that's why film watchers thought he was so fast. Fair enough. All I'm saying, if he plays faster than he runs a 40, that might make him a different kind of player, and that could threaten the evaluation. I'm not hedging, though. I want nothing to do with Ayuk. You should listen to other people, obviously. And maybe someone out there's got a really good story of why Ayuk's good. But Mike, I've said what I said. I'm standing by it. That's one I can say. If he's gonna be good, I'm gonna miss. That's fine by me. Ernest Edwards landing with the Rams. I'm not thinking. Yeah, undrafted free agents. I don't root for the first year ones. Let's just see who sticks on a team. Kendrick Bourne style. There was that 1 year Adam Thielen happened. That was fun, but they're rarely that good. Kendrick Bourne is the average of Hiddage, undrafted free agent. I have to check. I have all the undrafted free agents, actually. That's one of the things I've got to do this week. There's the undrafted free agents. Who didn't get drafted? Tristan Jackson from this year. He was kind of interesting. Did not Cyphers, the guy I actually kind of liked. Not Taylor Gabriel. Who's that guy? I mentioned him on JJ's pod. Isaiah something. Did he get drafted? Isaiah Hodgins. Yeah, he got drafted in the 6th by Buffalo. Oh, that sucks. But okay. I'll remember his name in 2 years and see if he can do something for us. Yeah, he went. Yeah, I just said that. I think the guy, post-draft thoughts, right? But I think the guy in the top 12, at least, that I'm going to be downplaying. I think everyone knows Ruggs. Everyone has pretty much... some people are going to like him, some aren't. But Ayuk isn't going to be the argument. The argument this year may well be Laviska Shenault. And that's a big bet. That's a big boy bet. Put on your big boy pants to bet against Laviska Shenault. That's not one you want to do just because. You have to be pretty certain because that was really good draft capital, really good landing spot. The guy's huge. He's athletic. He had one good season, but it was at age 19, I think. And he broke out at 19. Like, it's a big boy bet to say that Laviska Shenault is a loser. Or isn't going to hit, because the only bad thing on his profile is the trope of the way his breakout age was made. That's just me. I think I'm the only one who makes that argument. And so that's why I say it's a big boy bet. Like, most things will be positive on him. Kelvin Benjamin only worked out after the fact, right? His first year was great. He's a decent NFL player. And I don't think Laviska Shenault's going to have the problems Benjamin had either. So I think that's going to be the guy I go negative on that could, own me. I'm right. Anthony Amico's already said he's really high on him. Expects a lot of targets. I'm going to be panicking over it. If I'm not worried, but if I'm on the edge of my seat on anything of the players I think are landmines, I'm going to be down on Shenault, I think, compared to most people, and he could easily own me for that. But hey, I gotta stick with the things I've been arguing, man. I mean, someone's got to stand on the hill so you can throw tomatoes at them, and I'm willing to do it. But what I'm saying is, I'm going to be saying that I think that. I really think that. That's why I'm going to be running my drafts. You don't have to listen to me on it. I just want you to know, like, a lot of you're on the edge if you fade Chenault. But I'm comfortable with it. Again, I'm going to stand by what I've said and what I think. But there's no reason you need to follow to me to the edge of the cliff there. Maybe hedge a little bit, trade the pick away, get value. But don't be as afraid of them as I necessarily am. Like, I'm not sure I want to fade Bryan Edwards for Chenault at all. And that would be really stupid in most drafts. I think most people are going to have Chenault significantly above someone like Bryan Edwards. I'd take Chenault probably over Hamler. I love Hamler, but, it's just a different range. I'd take him over Pittman. I'm not crazy. But, I mean, Bryan Edwards, I know. I won't. I think most people probably should. I won't. Like Chenault's in that Bryan Edwards tier for me. You've got, the guys. You've got, and then you've got the second tier, which is like Chenault, Edwards. T. Higgins is probably between those two tiers. It depends on whether you want him in tier 1 or you want to drop him into that Chenault and Edwards tier. Rough thoughts, rough sketching my ranks here. And in that tier, I take Edwards over Chenault. I think most people are going to put Chenault in that in a higher tier. I'm not there. I'm fine with Higgins going up into that tier if you want him there. I'm not sure he's my guy, but I'm fine with it. Sorry, should stop staring at my spreadsheet. You're just looking at my ear hole here. Yeah, it's disappointing, but you know what? Miracles happen. Being realistic on it, yeah, Hamler's terrible, but it's all about where, right? If I can get him below that tier, taking a flyer in the 3rd round, I'm always willing to do that on a wide receiver. Should probably go running back over Hamler, and that's probably what my board will say, running backs over Hamler, but I'm going to be drafting probably plenty of, and no one's going to want the 3rd wide receiver in Denver, right? Below Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he'll beat those guys out. No problem. Come on. That was pretty rough. It's like Tyler Johnson's. I'll draft in places or I'll put him on my taxi squad somewhere. But vacated targets are real or not, but he's not beaten out. I mean, even Justin Watson's above him because he's been on the team longer. You've got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Good night. Realistically. But if it happens, I want him on my team so I can say I knew it, because that would be insane. And I love Tyler Johnson's profile. I was talking to Kane, who apparently Devi_Kane Twitter. Apparently he knows Tyler Johnson's, and I got really mad at him because he was rolling out the same old reasons he fell. But I'm like, you know him. If you know him and there's nothing, like, he's not secretly a psychopath, like, I know he probably can't be. He's got to get real, be professional, but he has legitimate reasons to be furious, in my opinion, with the way that draft worked out. But what the fuck do I know? I would be furious. Devin Duvernay is a guy people are going to like. He's not my guy. 21 breakout age, but draft round and breakout age combined, he gets a different average hit rate percentage, but I don't want much. Baltimore, though, I want Marcus Brown in Baltimore if I want someone other than Mark Andrews. Brown. Give me Brown. Golden Gandhi in Indianapolis might be more interesting than people think. Because to me, I've already written off Paris Campbell across the board. And that leaves T.Y. Hilton, who's the one, be very clear. Zach Pascal, who I love as an undrafted free agent. But again, teams fade them all the time, and they just gave Gandhi 4th round draft capital. I know, that's more interesting. That's more interesting than some might think. 12% chance of hitting? Crap. But I don't like him. Sorry. Before we get out of here. Gandhi is in Washington? Oh, I was looking at his conference, right. I was looking at IND, Independent Conference. He's in Washington. Shit. That's still more interesting, though. Who else went to Washington? Someone else went there, didn't they? So you've got Teir McLaurin, Kelvin Harmon, and Golden Gandhi. That's a little bit rougher because Washington's the worst team. I don't know. I still kind of like him to earn a role there eventually. Antonio Gibson, yeah, I just saw his name too. Still don't know whether to list him as running back or wide receiver. I think they're going to play him at running back. Best guess. But it's all about how they list him, right? Because if he's playing wide receiver listed as running back, it's different than if he's playing running back and listed as wide receiver. For fantasy. I don't know, those positional weapon things, they're not normally fantasy. If he's an outright running back, it could be more interesting fantasy-wise, I think, than just another wide receiver with a multifaceted skill set. Like, I'm bored of it. All right, we got anything else, or am I getting out here? My 20-minute video has already turned into an hour. I love you guys, seriously. Bowden or Gibson? Good question. I think Bowden. If they're both wide receivers, Bowden. It's more even if Gibson's a running back because of positional stuff. But I'm really interested to see what happens with Bowden. Gibson, I'm really interested too, but I kind of feel like it's a story I've seen before. And he'll be good. He'll be good. He's a good athlete and stuff, but I'm just really... I'd be more interested in Bowden in Washington, Bowden in Oakland than Gibson in Washington, I think. But I don't hate either. No. Well, in what way? Crossovers asking if Mims is 2020 Teir McLaurin. No, because I think depends how you're talking about. The thing about Teir McLaurin is I didn't like his profile. I like Mims' profile fine. The only problem on Mims' profile is that he's coming out a little later, but he also played a little later, so it's fine. And he was really productive at the ages he played. Teir McLaurin came out a regular time pretty much, but he was underproductive at the ages he played. So for me, it's night and day. But it depends how you look at prospects. They might be very similar if you look at them a different way. I really like Mims. Mims is... I wish I could answer these straighter, but I haven't locked him in yet. But Just put a big tier 1 on the obvious guys. Jefferson, Lamb, Rager, Judy. Mims is in that tier for me right now. Like, there's a danger he's just a Jet and the team sucks, right? But Mims is a good player. What do you think? I like him better than anyone else they got. I think he can beat Crowder out no problem. And Crowder's a good player. He not that good. Let's just say it. Crowder's really good NFL player. Like that he crosses over into fantasy relevance sometimes, which is something, man. But so does Cole Beasley, you know. That level. Mims has the potential to be someone significantly better than that. Like he's 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth most likely to produce a fantasy relevant season at any level. He's actually one of the more likely to produce a top 12 season. And a 30% breakout threshold. Actually, let's sort by that. Mims comes out third. It's pretty good. I thought about weighting that, by the way, but it'd just be arbitrary. Yeah, Perriman, again, he's a good NFL player. Another player with first-round draft capital who looked like he could be a good NFL player, rarely cross over into fantasy relevance. And that's what he's been. I'm happy to see him get another shot later. First-round picks don't often do that. But Baltimore gave him that shot, and now he's got the gig with the Jets. I think he really helps teams, man. He's one of those players really helping teams. And, you know, if you're just looking for startable winks, Perriman's going to get them. If you're getting him cheap, but outside of that, you know, Higgins or Ruggs right now. T. Higgins or Ruggs. I lean Higgins. T. Higgins is one of the people you can put in that conversation where you're like, if you don't expect an average rookie season from him because Boyd, because Green, then just go to Ruggs. There's more excitement there, and his value will drop if Boyd and Green honestly just keep him way too far down. But I don't think so. I think he can get 10% market share, for example. I think he can get 50 fantasy points. I think he can have a game where people are like, hey, he just scored me 20 fantasy points or 15 in my DFS competition. I think Higgins can have that kind of season. Uptown Tyler, Devin Funches, you know? I like him. I like him a lot. I like Boyd and AJ Green more, but I think he can do what he needs to do as a rookie moving forward. And he'll roll over into same or more value. Tickens, good player. Clemson normally makes me pull a stank face occasionally, but I'm not going to ding him for that. He's someone asked where I have him. Again, my ranks are very fluid right now, but right now, just sketching out, I have that big tier 1. Higgins is right under it, and then I have that tier 2 with people like Chenault and Brian Edwards. So he's above those more desperate flyers, or questionable prospects, like for me, Chenault. But below that clear top class of Jefferson, Lamb, Ray, or Judy, Mims, then Higgins. Right about there, yeah, somewhere in there. Burrow is a tiebreaker for me, and that's fine. I can't tell you you're wrong there. I haven't seen him in the NFL, but rookie QBs, you know, I don't think they're going to give us much. I don't know. If anything, Boyd and AJ Green. A little worried about them with a rookie QB, but everyone seems like really convinced that Burrow's ready. So maybe I'm wrong. And maybe, you know, rookie QB, if we're going to make a story, new wide receiver, there's more chance for a rookie wide receiver to eat into old veteran wide receivers with a new QB as well. I can see someone making that argument. I'm not going to, because I have no idea if that's true. Yeah, at least we know long term they have a QB. Hopefully, but hopefully, yeah, everything looks right with Burrow. I'm not trying to plant doubt. But every time someone says something, I immediately want to argue with it, and I shouldn't. I shouldn't argue with that one. Long term, they have a QB. Yeah, maybe. We don't know yet. But yeah, and one of the best college seasons. Yeah, I took a stroll down there to street there, Spaceman. I mean, outside of what is predictive and consistently, it's all narrative street. That's one of the best things someone ever told me on Twitter. It's like, look, man, that's what we have. And that's the realization. There's very little here that gives you an extra edge. The rest is putting it together to make the right story. Some people are better or worse than that. I don't think I'm particularly good at that, but I can definitely tell you the parts that have persistent and consistent value in making that story. And wide receiver, it's breakout age-adjusted metrics, and draft capital. And you can put all of that together in whatever story you want. I am liking yards per team pass attempt more and more. I keep thinking we can do breakout age based on it instead of based on market share. Maybe that would be interesting, but for right now, I'm using it kind of as an efficiency score, from college. Like that metric I came up with, or that stat rather that I came up, which was just yards per team pass attempt above team average. It seems to be a really good look of how valuable they were on a per team pass attempt basis for their team. Like I really like knowing it. I haven't put it in my model yet or anything. I guess I have to do a post-draft model. I haven't even seen how these guys come out when I put in their drafts capital yet. That's when I update the database. It'll start coming out. So maybe it'll disagree with me. Who knows? And my post-draft model has a better hit rate, better R-squared fantasy points than draft capital. Otherwise, what would be the point in it? I would love to put yards per team pass attempt in there, but I kind of don't want to fuck with it. I messed around with my pre-draft model and created a new one. Maybe I'll just keep post-draft the same. Actually, yeah, I should really find out what that's going to tell me. But anyway, Blankman had 1.64 yards per team pass attempt above his team average. Jefferson was at 1.9. Jefferson looks surefire, and I don't say that about anyone, but not surefire top 12, but he has one of the highest chances of doing that. But there is such a thing as too perfect, I guess, but I don't know when that is until after the fact. Jefferson looks surefire. That, to me, is a decision no one's talking about enough yet. Do you go Lamb? Do you go Rager? Pure upside based on historical archetypes? Or do you take Jefferson, who just looks much more likely to do everything? I don't know yet. I took Jefferson in the last mock. I took Rager in the mock before that. I don't yet know how. Maybe my post-draft model will sort it out for me. I don't know how to do that yet. I've got to separate out that top wide receiver tier some way, and it's either going to be Jefferson or it's going to be Rager Lamb. Jefferson, or maybe Jefferson between the two. And then you got Judy. That's a hard one for me right now. Over team average, what I do is the formula is literally looks up the team in their final year. I'm only doing final year right now. And it calculates the average for everyone that has more than one reception. And then it looks at the average yards per team pass attempt for everyone that had one reception or more. And then you take their final season. Yeah, I'm taking their final season. It's their final or their average, I forget which. And minus is the one number from the other. That's literally the formula. Go find the average. Now take away their final or average yards per team pass attempt away from it. And you see what they were doing above the average for the whole team. And so if there's a smorgasbord, it actually helps differentiate. Like if we look at Alabama this year, for example, even though, big plays, and even though they're a really tight crunch, Jerry Jeudy was getting 1.3 yards above the team average, whereas Henry Ruggs was only getting 0.7. And so you see the difference in the value per pass attempt of those two players, I think. But its predictiveness, it's no more than most things that have signal. It's like 14%. And that's taking the whole sample. You can get a better sample and it would improve, hopefully. The average for top 24 players is 1.6 yards per team pass attempt above team average. So it does create some interest. It's an interesting look at what players do. What do you think? Well, what they were providing to a team on a team pass attempt basis. And the best, but one of the best guys in that stat this year was Tyler Johnson, followed by Justin Jefferson, KJ Hamler, then CeeDee Lamb. All of them are above that 1.65 average. I have Devy players. I have some 2021 prospects. I have everyone that's played in college from 2000 to 2019. I have all the stats, but I only import certain names, like the ones that were drafted or played in the NFL between 2003 and 2019. And then I've started to add in some 2021 prospects because DLF has that Devy age table. And so I have some birth dates, so I can do that. So I've added a few of those. So yeah, technically I've got all the stats. The Devy players are just not in the database because I don't have their date of births, and I don't add them in. You don't have teammates who haven't graduated yet. Okay. Yeah, I got the entire data set. I gave it to Jesse Reeves, and that's where his database started from. I just gave him the college history. I can do that for you if you want. It's burdensome. That's why it takes me so long to update my database, because it strains my CPU to open up my master database because it's got all that data in and it's looking up from so many different cells, even using index match. It's a little smoother now because I only have one active line per position, and when I add a new name, I double up the formulas. And I used to be running all of them at the same time, and that was too much. And when I was using VLOOKUP, like every time I opened it, pretty much would crash. Index match has done a lot to help that. But just to warn you, it's not like the kind of data sets you can work with in R or whatever, where you get to like 1 million cells. But with Excel, and I just have like a regular Dell laptop, it can get hairy when I'm updating a lot of players, asking it to draw from so many cells. But yeah, it's handy to have them all. And again, the majority of that I got from Sean Slavin, and then Zeno has updated the last few years for me. And I think, who else was it? Someone else, Matt Spencer. I think he's helped me fill in a few gaps sometimes, but that's just basically scraping Sports Football Reference. That's what they do for me. I would love to get to a point where I could do it myself, not because I don't want to value their contribution. I just don't want to have to bug them every year. Hey, could I get them the data? Could I get it in this order, please? And maybe don't forget the positions this year, because that was really difficult. And like, I'd like not to burden them if I could, but scraping's a skill. I don't have it yet. I'm learning, but I keep saying I'm learning. Anyway. No more questions. All right. I might have to, damn it, I might have to download this video and cut off the first part and release it as a separate video. I'm learning to video edit, so maybe I can do that. Can we expect CD to have Calvin Ridley type rookie season? CD Lamb. Oh, I see what you did there. CD. Yeah, frenetic. I like it. And You can, CeeDee Lamb's a really good player, man. He really is. So, yeah, that's within his range of outcomes year one. Expect it? I wouldn't expect it. Could he do it? Yes. CeeDee Lamb's a really good player. And Calvin Ridley, really good comp there because he's got another player in front of him. I think Michael Gallup is a real wrinkle. What I expect is the team to just pass everything, really screw Gallup up, but I hope not. And so I'm not giving up my Gallup shares for nothing, because Gallup's a really good player. But CeeDee Lamb really shouldn't have any trouble getting the opportunity to do something like that. But it's a little more difficult with Gallup being there. Yeah. I mean, Sanu's a solid player, right? Again, one of those other good NFL players, and no shade there at all. So few people can be that. But my general expectation is for them basically to just ignore Gallup. They will give it all. Why wouldn't you? CeeDee Lamb fell to you. CeeDee Lamb's a better prospect. You spent more draft capital. The only thing that would hold them back is that Gallup has already proven to be what we can hope the best case scenario for a rookie is. But teams don't think that way. I don't think. Hopefully he gets traded, but that didn't work out too well for Teir Williams. Cameron Meredith is a rough comp because he got injured. Who else has been cooked recently? They really tried to do it to Thielen and Diggs, and they shook it off. But they got Treadwell, not CeeDee Lamb. That's a problem of a different type, different kind. There's been a bunch, but nowhere near as good as Gallup proved to be. So it's a little hard to read a scenario where it doesn't happen often. But my fear is Gallup's done. Yeah, Treadwell. And that's sad. I mean, he's going to be a good NFL player. The team's lucky to have him. I'm sure he's going to enjoy the shit out of being a wide. Like, this isn't bad for him. This is bad for us more than anything else, because we care about fantasy stats. He cares about doing a good job for his team, being good. Maybe we go into a Super Bowl someday. Like that, CeeDee Lamb only helps the team and therefore helps Gallup in that way. But there are only two things that I can really say really help a wide receiver. A team have 3 top 24 wide receivers. One of them's Peyton Manning. Pretty sure he's not coming back. One of them was team splits because players kept getting injured. A new offensive mind coming in and being, at least for one brief moment, because he was new and also very good, just creating exceptional success. And that was the Rams. And even that died off. And even that required 1 or 2 of the players being injured at different points for them all to get like a 3-way top 24 crunch through certain games, but their seasons overall weren't top 24. Yeah, it's not going to happen. And I saw someone saying that that's why CeeDee Lamb's spot is bad. I think they're underrating draft capital and also CeeDee Lamb to say that. We do see shifts in target share. And draft capital matters for these things, man. I really think. I wish they didn't. I'm an undrafted free agent fan, for goodness sake, but they do. And especially when a prospect is CeeDee Lamb, like there's no reason to think he's going to trade well. He's better than that. We think he's better than that. I mean, maybe, yeah, it could work out that way, in which case, great, because I'm going to keep my Michael Gallup shares. But if we're talking expectation, I think Gallup is the odd man out. The idea we don't see players target, you know how easy my life would be if target shares didn't shift dramatically, often in favor of draft capital. Please. I got to look that up because I think that argument's going to come up a lot with CeeDee Lamb and stuff. And I'm going to have to point out how some players move target share, and CeeDee Lamb is one of those guys. Even if the team hadn't spent a first-round pick on him, he's one of those guys. pulling something up. Didn't Adam Humphries break out the year before Chris Godwin? Different players, obviously. But wouldn't that be an example? I better get out of here if I'm just going to sit here and bore you with it. But all right, so Tampa Bay, right? Thing takes forever to organize. My vacated targets raw data is as burdensome to run for my CPU as that market share database. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it right now. Anyway, I think that might be one example of something like CD Lamb. Chris Godwin comes in and players from the year before who did very well. In some cases, I'm pretty sure that was Adam Humphries' career year before that. Just doesn't matter. I mean, he wasn't Gallup, obviously, but let's see. Draft capital. It shifts things, man. Hat tip, Spaceman. Appreciate it. Okay. See you later, Spaceman. Yeah, best get out of here too. Man, you can't let my videos be 20 minutes talks, can you? Yeah, so I'm gonna load up that argument for when people start making a and that's gonna be uncomfortable. Making an anti-Gallup argument is not where I thought my life was going, man. All right, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Thanks for joining me. Hope at least the start of the video was some decent perspective for anyone heading into drafts right now. Again, no one really knows. All we got is draft capital and some things from their college profiles, and they all look solid. I shouldn't be as low on, and that's something I'm learning from my pre-draft look. I shouldn't be as negative on Dobbins, because the only question I had was this more solid, not spectacular ceiling profile going to get a good landing spot, and he did. So yeah, that was a summary. Or I guess I'm going to get out of here. Thanks very much, and I will talk to you again next time. Hopefully after some more sleep.